Hello everyone, welcome once again, and we are going to look at market condition and some EOS news today. And this is our usual midweek update. We will talk in general how the market is doing, what you can look up to, and some of the exciting news around EOS. So first of all, we always look at the Bitcoin market because that's something which drives the rest of the market. So it's nothing new happening. We are very much in a very sideways trade. Sorry for these ads. I'm still using the free version. So let's say we are actually seeing lower lows. So we are in a bear market. Very clearly, we are not breaking out. But the good news is that we are not breaking down as well. So it's a kind of a sideways movement. Always look at bigger picture. I always look at daily chart. On a more finer scale, if you look at the hourlies and so on, you see huge, big spikes and big falls. And I'm sure many of you who are trading you must get excited about these things. But as I always say, you need to look at from a bigger picture perspective. And I hope that I think the range is getting smaller and smaller if you see here. And this is kind of forming a triangle pattern, and we need to see where it breaks out. But as you can see, this triangle is not yet ending. So you never know if we keep going for another 2 months without really breaking out. That's also possible. But I think a lot of news flow is happening, a lot of stuff is coming. A lot of institutional news we keep hearing, and I hope that the support stays around these levels and we take a bounce from here. So that's everybody's hope. But of course, you need to understand both ways. You need to understand what is your plan if it breaks down, and do not stretch so much that you cannot handle this kind of a breakdown if it happens. So always be ready for it and plan your trades around that. Now, what else is happening? Now, the big news which I talk about, the institutional stuff I talk about is this something which just came out, which is Gemini, which is one of the biggest kind of exchanges from the institutional perspective, because they are the first one who had created FDIC insured uh, option to keep your dollars and also allowing you to buy Bitcoin directly from fiat. Not only that, they recently also issued a stable coin just like Tether. It's but that was actually approved stable coin, which has with a some kind of a audit in place, and now they are announcing digital asset insurance. That means that whatever this exchange is holding in their hot wallets, that is going to be insured by the institutional money, which is huge because they're talking about bringing all the uh, like the right kind of regulations. That means you are able to trust and look at these resources and these exchanges in a more uh, kind of a trusted way. As I said, the insurance, the FDIC part of it. Of course, this is needed for people who are still not comfortable owning their own tokens and who are still and also you need a way. If you want to enter crypto market, you still need these exchanges, even though I always say that ultimately you need to own your own tokens and you need to start participating in the future of money. But I think we need an entry point, and that is something which people and a lot of people are still not comfortable, and they use these exchanges, and adding insurance is going to really mature this market further. Now, coming to the EOS world, what is happening in EOS world? I think we already talked about Chinta in another video. Do watch out that video. It's very interesting because now you can lease your tokens, and this is exactly what will add value to the ecosystem, and especially for the dApp developers. They will be able to get cheap resources if they are only trying their app, if they are only launching their app, they are not sure whether it will be successful. You do not want to invest a lot of money and own EOS. You can actually release them and deploy your apps, which is great, which is a maturing ecosystem. Do watch our video on Chintai to what we talked about, especially if you're looking to jump in, do understand it. And that's what we discussed of how some people are losing money on this, even though it's a very safe, simple leasing platform, but people are not really not understanding exactly how to make use of it. So please watch our video. Now, what else is happening? I think we talked about another airdrop which happened for only voters. Some people are complaining about it, but look at the effect of this. Like that one app which uh, declared that they will do airdrop only if you vote, that has increased the number of voters to 33,000, which is a very good progress in last few days. And the other thing which is important is the average number of BP per vote is going up continuously, and that is again a good impact. And this is something which will keep improving the system, and I hope that more and more people will vote because now there are incentives in place. I hope the Rex, when it comes out, it gives you incentive for voting, and those kind of things are happening. Now, what else is new in EOS world? We heard about Wayon. So what is the news is that Wayon is getting funded. So this is the first EOS VC fund contribution. So as you know that EOS has this 1 billion fund, and one of the VC in that is FinLab EOS, and EOS VC. And so FinLab has actually 100 million fund, and they have invested in this 100 million fund into this company, and these guys are actually trying to create your ownership of your personal data so that you can own it and you decide whether you want it to be marketed or not. So this is basically a platform trying to give tools to you, and I'm sure there will be apps built on it. This is more like a protocol, not really an app, and which is interesting because that means that you can build more and more apps on top of it using their platform, where you allow users to control their data and monetize it if you need to, just like today Facebook or Google are monetizing your data. So it's an exciting app. I think this is very, very important addition to EOS ecosystem. And with the funding, I'm sure this will be a great progress they will be able to make. While I know that a lot of people are already working in this direction, but having $100 million funds from EOS VC fund is always useful. So these are some of the updates, and we wanted to talk about Chinta, this new dApps platform being coming up. And as I said, the more and more people are voting. Of course, there is fun stuff happening. I think I get a lot of complaints from people about why am I sharing the details about these gambling apps. We talked about this Jacks or Better, which is a very interesting game because I talked about it because it is different. It is different from the dice game which are happening, and it's a very mature game, like because you're talking about the almost poker kind of a hands, and it's a video poker we call it, and a lot of people play it. Now, let me tell you, this is all about what is the user experience EOS is bringing. You're talking about a blockchain-based games which are being run. Now, while I always say in these videos, you are responsible for making decisions to play these games and gamble. Now, we are in a crypto world. We always talk about owning your money, understanding it, and being mature about it. If you want us to regulate these things, if you want us not to talk about these gambling apps, that means you are again going back to somebody has to censor you, somebody has to protect you. That means you're not ready to own your own money. If you're not smart enough, not mature enough, if you're not an adult who can take care of your money and your instincts, I think you should go back and deposit your money in the banks. And that's what I would say, because I agree that it can be addictive. And that's exactly what is the learning is all about. I'm sure a lot of you, if you have gambled away your money, you will learn about it yourself. Nobody can teach you these things. There are enough gambling places out there. You can go in, I live in the US, and here every 10 minutes or 20 minutes drive, I can find a casino. So if I'm really into it, I can find other places offline. So I don't have any issue. Let me be very clear. I'm not apologetic about sharing these apps. I'm myself playing it responsibly, and I love interacting with these apps because this gives me some kind of a satisfaction that now we have these things on the blockchain where I'm using a trustless blockchain rather than a trusted entity in casinos when I'm going and playing these games. So what I would again like to highlight, if you're losing money on these, if that means you're not learning, that means you need to lose that money once so that it gives you a lesson. Any money lost in financial world, that should be a lesson. And if you're not learning that lesson, I think you should go back and deposit your money in banks which are and where you are restricted to use your own money because government thinks that you are not smart enough to control your own money, and they want to protect you by putting restrictions, by allowing you to do only certain things. And I come from a background where I have been building communities around financial education. Let me tell you, um, while these regulations are good for small investors, they also prohibit you from really making use of your money in the right opportunities. Like we talk about so many regulations around the private equity. I have been involved in so many of these early stage investments where people nowadays, when the stock market, when the company lists on the stock market, the money is already made. You are, as a retail investor, government protects you from not investing in early stage deals. Only few people have access to it. And what happens is, in the end, when all the money has been made, all these big investors who are smart about money, who control their money, and they have their own way of passing these regulations because they have some special exceptions for big investors. And the retail investors are buying these IPOs in the last stage and they end up losing money. And that is what is happening today. And that's where I think the crypto world changed it. Last year, what we saw was such a huge list of ICOs, people made money. And that is because they bypassed the regulations. Of course, the regulations will come back and hurt this industry again. It was a short-lived thing, and crypto market is crashing right now. But the principles are still the same. Yet the reason crypto is flourishing is because people want to take control of their own money, and this is a democratization of information. And either it is serious applications or gambling applications. I would say this is a learning curve. If you want to control your money, you need to learn to be responsible. And if you cannot protect yourself, you do not belong in this world of democratic money, where people really control their own money and they know exactly what they're doing with it. And that's why education is important. That's what we focus on in Investing with a Difference. We want you to learn everything. And that's the same thing I talked about, Chinta. If you watch our video, which we released earlier today, we talked about why people just jump onto it. We talked about RAM when the RAM trading started. We talked about even Pixel Master, which was again kind of a pyramid scheme. Now, everything teaches you a lesson if you really understand and be responsible and not try to be greedy. And you have to always understand the risks when you get into anything. All of these are speculations. All of these are like whether it's Pixel Master, whether it is a gambling game, or even if it is leasing. Like some people paid 10%, 20%, or 40% lease because they did not understand what was happening there. So this is what we strive for. We'll keep educating you, but we will also show you what is coming up. And if you still believe that we should not show these kind of gambling apps, I'm sorry, but I think we don't see that as a valid concern. And these are your personal beliefs, whether you hate such certain things. And in a democratized economy where everybody has a right to choose what they want to do, we let individuals decide what is good for them. And our goal is not to go and preach that what is good or what is bad. So thanks once again for watching. I'm sorry for all the rant because I'm reading a lot of comments about against gambling. I am sure I'm going to lose a lot of subscribers because of this, but I believe in speaking my whatever I feel is the right thing to say. And I'm not here to create a business out of it. It's more about education and want to make sure that people understand where I stand on any of these apps. And I always tell you to be responsible in whether it's a serious app like Chintai, whether it's a RAM trading, which is again a serious aspect of EOS, or whether it's Pixel Master or these dice games and jacks or whatever more, all these kind of gambling games. So be responsible, learn what you're doing, and that is what will get you ahead. That is what we need in this new economy which we are building. And all of us need to come together and share ideas. Thank you. Bye bye.